we're members of CILIP SNPC, which is the Students and New Professionals community. It's sort of a networking community for students who are studying to get involved in library and information careers, as well as young professionals like us who have recently began careers in the field of library or information work.
Hey everybody. So today we are doing our podcast about kind of our roles in our new library jobs and what that can kind of look like through a lot of different career paths and industries. So first, we're just going to tell you a bit about us. So my name is Chaley. I am an information scientist at Think Analytics. I've been there for about 8 months now, after finishing the course at Strathclyde. And yeah.
I'm Matthew. I'm an information assistant at Edinburgh Napier University. I've not been there very long. I only started on the 18th of March, so it's like just over 3 weeks about-ish so far.
My name is Philippa. I work as a library assistant in a secondary school in London. And it just involves a lot of circulation tasks such as issuing and returning books, as long as processing and repairing, as well as a little bit of behavior management. So yeah, it's lots of fun things to do.
Yeah, I think you definitely, well, I don't want to speak for either of you, but I think you both have a lot more behavior management than I do at my job. I guess like with that in mind, is there anything you're really glad you knew going into your role, like a skill or something transferable from uni or previous work?
Well, I had like a lot of customer service experience before I started my position. I'd really mostly worked customer service doing retail and stuff like that, and I thought that was really, really useful because a lot of the general skills I got from that were quite transferable in a lot of ways. And even when I started the position, I had like a one-to-one talk with the head of the library services at Napier, and he specifically said the reason why they wanted to hire me was because I had a lot of customer service experience, because they thought it was easier to take someone with customer service experience and teach them how libraries work compared to taking somebody who works in a library and teaching them how to do customer service stuff. And plus it just helps that because I'm at a university, I was a student pretty recently, and quite a bit of the general equipment I'm helping students with, like EduRoam or the printers or the self-service kiosks, are the exact same ones we had at Strathclyde or at Stirling, so I'm quite used to, it didn't take me a lot of training to get used to dealing with them.
I would say knowing how printers work, it's very, very valuable when working with students. But still, almost every day I learn something new about those printers. But yeah, I think what I found really useful was to just be prepared of how much of the things that involve the most thinking is the efforts that are put into making students aware that we have in the library all of these resources, and sometimes they don't know where to look. That's something that my placement project in Andersonian Library focused a lot, and now I'm here in a secondary school, and it's just so much like that, because with Google and everything, they just are not aware of the databases that we are paying for them to use. Yeah.
Oh, that makes sense. I see, because for me, I feel like you guys have such more traditional library jobs versus like my entire department is information scientists, and everyone has some sort of library background or library degree, but we don't really deal with, at least at my level, we don't really deal with any of the customers. It's basically a tech startup for a recommendation engine. So there's a lot of like maintaining the integrity of the data and building thesauri, but it's none of the actual day-to-day people skills that I feel like most library jobs have. So I'm a little jealous, but I'm also not that jealous. I don't have to know how a printer works.
It puts you a lot on the spot when they come with a problem with the printer and you're the adult who's been hired to do this job and you have to do the best you can do, but sometimes it's something that only IT can fix, and you have to send them their way without any printing done.
Yeah, I've gotten really, really good at pawning people off to the IT teams of actually doing anything myself. But it is mostly printers, I found. It's always printers. No one knows how printers work whatsoever. And like, I imagine it's probably worse for you, Philippa, because you're dealing with like children who have to like look up to you as like an authority figure.
The little ones, yeah. The tall sixth form ones. I'm like, please.
Is for both of you, like, is your current role kind of what you anticipated going into it? Like, is there anything that really surprised you, or did you have a sixth sense that you would be dealing with printers and people and that sort of thing?
I didn't quite expect to be printers all the time. I thought Ed Jerome and the Wi-Fi would probably be the main concern for a lot of people, which it is. That's like a very close second, but I didn't expect the printers as much. It's a lot more dealing with different programs and tech things that I expected to, like, because we, unlike in a traditional library, when students are getting out books, they just go through the self-service kiosk instead of coming to us and dealing with it that way. So a lot of our job is like monitoring what books are out on the system, checking which books have had orders put in, things like that. But it's not as much general face-to-face dealing with students as I expected. That's also because of the time of year that we're at, because it's like the Easter holidays right now, and it's also coming up for exams, and students they're in the library for exams, but they aren't usually coming up to you asking you things. They're usually just studying or doing an exam. I imagine it'll probably get worse when it gets to, say, September, and we get a lot of new people coming in.
Yeah, it's quite the same with us, because they have their A levels and GCSEs coming, and they will be on a study break. I think that's what it's called. They'll just be off timetable and just be in the library the whole time for over a month.
I was just going to say, because I have a lot of customer service experience. I am used to dealing with people, but I really had to get used to adjusting how I speak to people, because in retail, a lot of it is just you're selling people something or you're helping someone get a return or whatever. So a lot of it is just they give you something and you do something with it. That's a great sentence, I know, but you know what I mean. But here, my current job, it's a lot of showing people how to do things. So I had to really adjust how I handle people, because a lot of it is explaining things to them instead of just doing it for them. Because in retail, people don't want you to explain to them what you're doing. They just want you to do it.
To me, I think what surprised me about the role, which shouldn't have, but it's just I had to catch up so much with the UK school curriculum. Like, there's just the library is there to support the curriculum of the UK and the school, and we're just involved in a lot, and we need to know a lot of the modules, especially, for example, with EPQ, which I was not familiar with, and the students are just running their projects and they will need help, and we even do presentations on how to start their research and things like that. So definitely having to catch up with that. It's been a bit of a struggle because it's a bit subjective, but deciding when a book needs to be replaced, it's so hard. Sometimes it takes a team of 3 of looking at the book and thinking if we should replace this book or not, because you have to consider the budget, but then you also have to consider if the book is like half wet and it's going back in the shelves, and the humidity, and would anyone want to take this book home and curl up with the book in bed looking like that, so yeah, it's been, I still haven't got quite the handle of it, of deciding when a book needs to be replaced or not, and that is okay. At least that's what I've been told.
I think that's okay.
Yeah, that it's still okay, that I'm not sure when it has to be replaced or not. Something that I was also told when I was doing the placement on the Andersonian, and here is the exact same thing, is just the running out of space and shelves. Luckily, this school has like quite a bit generous budget, and there's just constant tweeting that needs to be done and decide what doesn't support the curriculum anymore, what is not getting out, the students are not interested, as well as staff. And then we just have to get rid of it and donate it because it's just a limited space that we can't extend.
what you said about backing up a bit, sorry, but what you said about the how to tell about like the integrity of the book and if you should get rid of it. When I was on my placement at the Scottish Poetry Library, the head librarian pretty much said, if it's a book that you yourself wouldn't be comfortable having on your bedside table, then don't expect anyone else to be comfortable with that either. And I feel like that's great advice, and it sounds like kind of what they told you too.
Yeah.
But do you have to do any weeding, Matthew?
I'm going to start doing stuff like that next week. That's mostly something we're leaving for the summer because there won't really be any students around, and it takes a while, and they'd rather do that during the summer to get it ready for the next academic year. But right now, they're not doing it as much, and the job's done a pretty good job of spacing out when I learn new things. That's another thing I didn't really expect, because in retail, they kind of just teach you what you need to know and just expect you to go do it. But this job's really understanding about, like, they know that I have to learn a lot at once, all different systems that we're using, all different things I've not done before, and they're really good at spacing out, like, okay, this week we're learning this week we're learning this. So they keep telling me, like, it'll be months before I'm fully up to date on everything.
That seems pretty reassuring, I think, for us, like, because so much of what we're working on is both internal, but also at the end, like, it does have to be used for customers and it has to be delivered on projects. I feel like there's like a timeline for the things that I need to be trained on, but realistically, if a project comes up, you just get thrown into the project, and so you're like, well, we meant to teach you this in 3 months, but it's happening now, so good luck, kid. But honestly, it's been pretty cool. But listening to you guys talk about weeding makes me think about, like, something I didn't really anticipate for my role was, like, I knew it would be kind of all over the place, like I was saying, like the timing of what you're learning and trained on just kind of depends on the needs of the company. But we do weeding in a sense, but it's more like we'll go through current features we have within our thesauri and then pretty much decide if they're obsolete or out of date or if we need to expand them. Like last week I was working on this request from my manager basically saying, hey, I don't know if you've noticed, but there's quite a lot of vampire content right now. So like a lot of what we work on is like, it's mostly movies, TV shows, that sort of thing. And so I had this assignment basically from her that took me about 2 days of like, go through everything you can find online and pretty much research as many types of vampires and like cultural vampires. So I basically built this giant vampire thesaurus, which is not what I anticipated my job being, but I'm very happy to have it. It's a very cool thing to do. But after like hours of work of realizing, yeah, we do need way more than just vampire and human-vampire relationship, I brought back to her this like thesaurus of maybe 50 terms, like modern vampire, gothic vampire, teen vampire, and then all these different cultural type vampires. And then lo and behold, kind of like what comes up in school, and you guys definitely would have this, because if it's not actually useful to the user on the other end, it doesn't matter how like perfect your little catalog is or your thesaurus is. Like if it's not useful, it's not useful. So I basically had to kill my darlings and go through everything I made. And she was like, if there isn't enough shows or movies that actually relate to what you found, scrap it. We'll come back to it later. So my list of 50 was now a list of 10, which was a bit brutal, but was also quite cool. I feel like that's just not something I anticipated doing at work, and I will never complain about having to research vampires. Like, so what's something that you guys wish you knew going into your job? Like, knowing what you know now, what's some advice you wish you got?
I think, well, I do appreciate how the course was so theoretical. That was really useful and really interesting, and the placement was quite useful as well, as in a way to see what goes on the back office of a library. However, I'm very much at the front desk in this position, and there's just a lot of hands-on knowledge that I did not have, and I guess maybe another placement during the course would have been useful on like a desk position at the library. But yeah, it's just something that you do have to catch up, and you learn with time a bit more on processing, like how to do the tags that activate the alarms and things like that. How do you connect that with the cataloging that you do of the books, as well as easy things like preparing books, which sometimes is not as easy, but there are quite basic things related to working in the library that I just had no knowledge on how to do.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same. I wish I had to say I've got a lot of customer service experience, so I can kind of deal with people in general, but there's a lot of really, really specific stuff related to library work that I wish got explained a little bit more. I talk about like doing the tags on the books, for example. Yeah, I just really wish I was prepared for the variety of different systems that we're using, because even when I did my placement, we really just used the one like cataloging system and that was it. But this one we've got all these different programs to do every single thing, every single possible task we can do. It was a different program, a different system, and it's really hard to keep track of all of them at once, especially since the systems are constantly being updated.
Honestly, this is more of a reflection of me, really, is that we actually use quite a lot of the same terminology that we used in our course, like facets, features, that sort of thing. And I feel like during the course, I was like, I totally know what these mean. And now having it in the context of a day-to-day job with like actively manipulating them, I'm just like, wow, do I even know what any of these words mean? Did I retain anything?
I think if someone would have made my life dependent on the things that we have learned in class, how much as I enjoyed them, I could not tell you like only a tenth of everything we learned, and that would be pushing it.
Yeah, if you asked what a facet is, I'd crumble immediately.
Okay, that does make me feel better. Thank you, guys. So I guess in terms of just sort of generalized advice and kind of on a lighter tone, do you guys have any, advice for anyone starting out in any like library job at any stage of their career? I feel like the most important advice I've gotten that is like so applicable at work is just to ask questions. Like, everyone appreciates it. They know you want to succeed. They want to help you, but there's just so much information. Or really, not only is there so much information, we are in charge of the information, that they're like, we just need you to do this right. And it doesn't matter how long it takes, just to ask questions, because if you guess, you could break something.
Yeah, I guess it's just being prepared to be very adaptable to different things.
I think this is a very like utopian advice, but do try to stick to it as much as possible, but try to find an area within librarianship and information that you enjoy, because I think that just makes life so much easier, like actually looking forward to going to work. It's a first-time experience for me, and it's just been doing wonders on my mental health. Mm-hmm. And I just think it really does impact your life in general.
Could not agree more.
Yeah, absolutely.
I feel like I think this is applicable to anything, not just working in information and in libraries, but I feel like it can never be overstated. Always take the time to meet people, like obviously within your department and your team, but like also outside of your department, because usually like anything with information and libraries, like we're functioning as part of a larger organism, for lack of a better words, whether that's a university or a school or a hospital or a software company. I feel like the friendlier you can be and the more you can kind of show face and meet other people, like they will feel more comfortable coming to you for all of their information needs. But also it just makes your life easier. Like, it's good to know the people you work with. You spend so much time with them, like almost 40 hours a week, every week, forever. So it's good to just like actually make an effort, because you never know when they might be able to help you with a project or vice versa, I would say.
It's been very interesting because for the past people who have been in my position, which is just a graduate position, so it has been rotating quite often, I was told, each graduate, they just end up getting along better with a specific department. And I thought, I wonder which department will be. Like, they said, this this person before you, she used to speak so many languages, so obviously she just got along with the modern languages department, and someone else came from like an English background, so she was the English department. And I should have known I would end up with art, art and design and technology, but somehow I thought maybe it will be different. It was. We are a team of 3 currently, so we are never able to have lunches together, because lunch is one of the busiest periods for the children to be in the library. So you just end up making your way into other departments during lunchtime. So it's.
I think I'm in a similar boat, although it wouldn't be for interest. It's more like I find myself hanging out quite a lot with the data scientists. But I think that's because we're all about the same age. Any other advice that you would have for anyone else who's in our position or about to be in our position?
Yeah, I guess it's just good to learn, or at least prepared to be very adaptable, because you have to learn a lot at once. You have to get to grips with lots of different systems, and the systems you get to grips with will be totally different at each institution probably. Like I said, when I did my work placement in Edinburgh Central Library, we didn't use any of the stuff that I'm learning at my current job. I imagine something I'm learning at my current job is pretty different from the stuff that Philip was learning at her job. So you have to get prepared, you have to get ready for that, but you also have to get ready for, you have to balance your more general tasks that you have to do to keep the library running with actually dealing with inquiries from the public as well. So you have to learn to balance getting both done at the same time, really.
It can be quite hard trying to manage like reservation queues and emails and everything while you have a 12-year-old on the other side of the desk that needs to return the book quickly before they get to class, and you're just trying to see what are the priorities here.
Yeah.
I think we can end on a kind of silly, fun note, if you will. I've been dying to ask, what are you guys reading right now?
Well, I just finished an incredible book called The Sackler Dynasty.
House of Pain.
Yeah, Empire of Pain, sorry, that is the name of the book, but it's about the Sackler family, and it's been a journey. I cannot recommend it enough. It's nonfiction. And I just started In Memoriam, the debut novel of Alice Wynne about the First World War, fiction.
Well, I'm reading nothing right now because I mentioned this to Shaylee. On Monday, I was planning to go to the library to get a book, and I got to the library. I was like, "Oh, it's Easter Monday. The libraries aren't open." And for a second, I was really annoyed. I was like, "Why are the libraries shut on Monday?" And I realised, "Oh, I'm not at work either because my library's shut on Monday." So I looked very, very silly.
Okay, what book were you going to get then?
I was going to read Regeneration by Pat Barker, which is also about World War I, because it's about the Craig Lockhart Hospital, which is a hospital in World War I, where a lot of British Army officers were treated for post-traumatic stress disorder, and it's where a lot of pioneering work was done in that field. And it's really famous in Britain because if you go to school in Britain, you have to read a bunch of World War I poetry, and like a lot of the most famous World War I poets were at the library, and they wrote a lot of their poetry at the library. And the library, I keep saying library because the building I work in, it used to be the hospital. That's one of the reasons why I decided to read the book. There's a big display in the front of the building about how it used to be the war hospital, and I thought, oh, that seems cool, I should read that book, because there's a bunch of stuff about the book there. And then I went to go read it on Monday, and I got...
And then Easter happened.
Yeah, then Easter happened, and I was really hypocritical. Like, oh, the library should be open, not mine, but the other one should.
Yes, people need access to information at all hours of the day.
Exactly.
Okay, wow. I feel left out because you guys are both reading World War I books. I'm just in the middle of Emily Wilson's translation of the Iliad, mostly because, well, I read the Iliad in 6th grade for school, and I remember thinking, oh, this is going to be so boring. Who cares about war? And the drama that's happening between these men. So proud, so angry, so Greek. And I guess Emily Wilson's known for just really fabulous translations, and I think she's one of the first, if not the first, like woman to have published one of the translations of the Iliad. She just came out with the Odyssey, so I'm kind of reliving my 6th grade Greek class vicariously through her work, but it also couldn't recommend it enough. So far it's been really insightful, but maybe that's because I'm getting a lot more out of it now as an adult than as a 12-year-old.
When you described the Iliad, it's just pretty much the book I'm reading as well, because there's just so much. It's basically just about young men being in love with each other and pining after each other. And I started reading it yesterday, already cried, because it's war. It's men loving each other and terrible things happening. So I cannot recommend it enough if you want to have a good cry. I also found out something very interesting on the book. Apparently, women used to give white feathers to men who, exactly, I also did not know this, to men who look like they should be at war, but they weren't. Like, they looked old enough to be, and they weren't in army uniform. So they used to just give, and that would be a symbol of shame.
Do you guys find that you are checking out quite a lot of books from your libraries? Because I've definitely started watching a lot more movies and TV, which seems antithetical, but here we are.
Absolutely. We can see the top borrowers, and I am often checking how well I'm doing compared to the kids who read the most. It's not a competition. I'm just inspired by them, and I want to be up there in the top with them. I think I'm on top 3 staff who borrows the most, and that's enough for now.
I can't really, because I'm mostly at the business school, my library, so it's a lot of books about like how to manage businesses, really, which I don't really have any interest in that. And it's all like incredibly practical stuff. A lot of books about like how to do timetables, like how to make up staff rotas, and I'm like, do you need a full book for that?
Well, thank you for taking the time to chat today. It's really good catching up with you guys in our early careers and swapping stories.
If you have any questions, let us know, email us, and maybe we'll see you on another episode.